Good morning, Aseto. Indeed, a very chilly morning, actually. It's almost drizzling. You know, the way we Africans will look in the skies and we know hapa kutanyesha. It feels that way, that it might rain today. But this is CBA, John Mbadi's first budget as Cabinet Secretary, Treasury and National Planning. Quite interesting numbers that he's had to deal with, considering that, you know, our budget keeps on growing each year. People ask, why does the country not live within its means? Because obligations are always growing. We are always taking an extra debt here and there. So the budget will keep on increasing at the end of the day. So we are focusing, the big numbers is 4.239 trillion shillings. That's the budget. And we are looking at revenues totaling 3.363 trillion shillings. And when you have revenues that number, it creates a deficit. You have a bigger budget, what you can afford is less than what actually you have in the pocket. That's why you have the deficit of close to 876 billion shillings. And normally the big question is, how do we fund this deficit or this gap that is existing in the budget? Definitely through borrowing. We borrow locally and we borrow externally. Now, according to Treasury and what we'll be seeing from the budget reading later this afternoon, we'll see that the government is planning to actually borrow 284 billion shillings externally and domestically 592 billion shillings. It's safer to borrow locally than borrow externally. But in the previous financial years, we've seen that change where the government is always promising we are borrowing, we'll focus on borrowing locally more than externally. Then it changes. We start borrowing more externally. But there is a challenge when we borrow heavily locally, and that includes crowding out, the private sector. So the question is, will the government manage to borrow this 592 billion shillings at an affordable rate without competing when it comes to matters credit with the private sector? So those are the big numbers that we're looking into. Of course, nitty-gritties, the better agenda, or how much has been allocated towards the specific areas within the framework of the country. Talk about agriculture, healthcare, all that. We'll be dissecting those numbers and also give you a feel of what it means to be in the broad-based government budget. But back to you, Aseto, in studio.
And you put it right, the broad-based budget. Just how exactly will CS Treasury John Mbadi do with regard to this? Remember, it is the very first and broad-based government, and we look forward to the deficit that you're talking about, the debt that has to be taken to service that, because we're talking about 4.239 trillion shillings and a budget and a revenue of 3.3 trillion shillings, leaving a deficit of 876 billion shillings. So how exactly are we funding that? But then again, let's just look at the numbers that we have here today.